I don't despair. I think despair is wrong. I gave up despair for Lent.
So Tom Hanks said there's no crying in baseball, and Paul Ryan just said there's no despair in politics, at least as far as he's concerned.
There's crying in politics.
There's crying, that's
John Boehner.
That's John Boehner, but not by him. He's not a guy given to despair. And, you know, it is interesting. He's rolled back into a meaningful and larger role in Washington after the election, which is going to set the table for something else. But he's a player again. Right?
I mean, look how young he is, and he's at the center of the table. The White House respects his gravitas on these issues. I mean, obviously it was a bad defeat from his perspective, but he couldn't be in a better position as far as the future of the party, and these issues are really his issues. So, I mean, it's kind of right where he wants to be.
Although there are some Republicans, I talked to one this week, who still think the Paul Ryan message is too much austerity. It's too much eat your peas, not enough hope. Now, that's ironic because he is the guy who also peddles the Jack Kemp, you know.
I think
there's a bright future ahead for America, but there's some Republicans who think there's too much austerity, too much eat your peas in his formula.
Yeah, but from our conversation this week, it sounded like he heard that message and is acting on it. He said explicitly, we're going to have more Jack Kemp. That's more championing social mobility, making it possible for poor people to rise up. You know, Jack Kemp was a real inclusive kind of guy. I find the irony in that is that Jack Kemp was about as far from small government as you can get. Yeah. He was for low taxes, but he was not for small government. Look, I think Ryan came out of this seasoned. He really didn't screw up during the campaign.
Exactly.
Mitt Romney has evaporated, so he's all that's left of the ticket. He's not the only player there, but the fact that he voted for the fiscal cliff bill was a sign that he's not going to be just a naysayer. I think we're going to hear a lot from him over the next couple of years, and it could be fun to watch.
I think there aren't very many Republicans who can put harsh medicine in such attractive bottles as Paul Ryan.
And he's not a megaphone guy. You know, he looked almost uncomfortable out on the stump. But this is where he's in his zone, when he's with his members, talking to guys, explaining things, doing the numbers, kind of doing the nerdy side of politics. And I think a lot of people respect that. You know, he knows his stuff. He doesn't come out there with talking points. He's actually kind of working through the numbers and trying to. The challenge is going to be how does he do this, put this budget together to satisfy the conservative.
Well, and plus, is he going to pick up? Having agreed to do that, is he going to pick up more baggage along the way?
Right. It's going to be a pretty austere budget, or it's going to have one heck of a large gimmick in it to get to balance in 10 years.
Right, although he does get to absorb those tax revenues everybody agreed to in the fiscal cliff.
Yeah, but that doesn't get that far.
Yeah. So how do you think he's going to do it?
I think a lot of gimmicks. You know, caps on things without specifics. It's a budget outline. It's not a budget. And I wonder, he did say that he wasn't going to do one of these things where we assume our policies are so great we get a big growth dividend. But we'll see if he can stick to that.
And on the Democratic side, do you have any sense of what kind of budget they're going to put together? If they have to put something down on paper, that's good. And by the way, whatever Patty Murray, who's the chairwoman of the Senate Budget Committee and the leading Democrat on this subject, whatever she puts together is going to be seen as the Democrats' budget until the president shows up.
I mean, if history's any indication, the White House is going to pull back on all the offers it made during the fiscal cliff. Yeah. You know, take a lot of those Medicare cuts off the table. The change CPI thing for Social Security off the table. What they like to do, they put things on the table in the private talks, and they pull them back when they have to put their public documents out there, so they can try to, you know, inch back towards where they were. They're probably going to get a lot of flack if they do that, because the Republicans will say, "Here we go again. You're not being serious." But you know, if history's any guide, they're going to try to take all those things off the table.
Right, but I think that Patty Murray's budget will be to the left of the president.
Right.
And the president will like that. He'll like the idea that the Democrats have a more tax-heavy, less entitlement cut budget. The Republicans have the opposite, and then he'll style himself as, well, I've got this great middle. Presidents love the third way, and they're always the right way. Their way is the right way.